Howdy, I'm doing this video as a quick review of MLA formatting. This is kind of something you should have learned in Comp 1, but that's not, MLA formatting is generally not something that stays in your head unless you're using it constantly. So I want to do a quick review. Hopefully it's a reminder. If you need a more thorough review, if you hear MLA formatting and you're like, I don't even know what that is, it's a bit of a problem, but you can remediate it. There's an MLA lecture on the content page under help resources. That'll go step by step through MLA formatting. A little slower and might be a little easier to work with if you're kind of new to MLA formatting. But for Comp 2, all our essays are going to be done in MLA. And basically, either MLA or APA, the idea is that one, you want to credit sources when you use them. If you just start cutting and pasting off the internet, it's a great way to fail the class, right? Particularly if you're not giving credit. You want to credit authors when you use them. And two, you want to use authors responsibly. You can't say according to Jane Smith, yada yada yada. Then Jane Smith kind of goes like, I never said that. She has the right to be upset. Where MLA kind of starts is with the works cited page. That's the listing of all the sources you're going to use in your essay. The basic pattern with most entries, you're going to start with the author's last name, comma, then the author's first name. Then probably the smaller unit, like The Artist of the Beautiful is a short story by Nathaniel Hawthorne. Then the bigger unit, Mosses from an Old Man, so was the collection of stories this came from. Very important, particularly with our textbooks and stuff, you want the edition. Missing a little period there. Oops, screwed everything up. There should be a period there. The publisher, then year publication, and normally there'd be page numbers here, but you'll notice that the student's telling us, hey, wait a minute, I got this online, so there weren't any page numbers. If you're using our book, the page number would come right after the year of publication there. And you can kind of see if you're looking down, again, here's starting with the author's last name, comma, first name, smaller unit, the web page, bigger unit, the website, then the URL for the website. Uh, some teachers don't want the HTTP / stuff. I do because when I grade your essays, particularly for an online class, I'm going to click on that link and go to that source. And if you don't have the right URL, I'm gonna note that when I'm grading because I want to be able to go straight to that source. If there's no author, then you just start with the article title or the web page title. Then the websites there are italicized. This source is kind of interesting. This is not written by Nathaniel Hawthorne. It's an article about him. That's why his name's in quotation marks. And then she tells us where she got that, and then of course the URL. And once you have the works cited page, using MLA formatting is fairly straightforward. When you use something in your work, you're going to cite it using the first word on the works cited page and a page number. There's 4 ways to use sources in an essay. One, you can do a short quote, which is 3 or fewer lines in MLA formatting. You want to introduce a quote, put the short quote in quote marks, and then you want to do the citation using the first words on your works cited page and a page number if you have one. For example, if you're using our textbook, you would have a page number there. This is off the internet, and so it's not going to have a page number. And I should be able to go down to the works cited page. I should see what is romanticism. Now, if I went to that source, I ought to see that direct quote straight from that source there when I go check it. Also interesting, when Turnitin, the plagiarism detector works, it should highlight that quote probably. You're probably not the first person to use that quote. And it's kind of highlighted word for word, hopefully. We'll see. It's not a 100% rule, but basically short quotes are word for word straight from the source or the short story or whatever. For a long quote, which is 4 or more lines, you're going to double indent it. You can tell a long quote right away because it's offset, tabbed over twice, if you will. And it's word for word, there's no quote marks. But you still have to introduce it, and you still need the citation. And if I go to my works cited page, I should see Introduction to Romanticism. And if I'll go to that source and click on that link, I should see this long quote in there, right? Word for word. So again, quotes should be word for word. If you need to change a quote, you use these ellipses, the 3 dots there, to show an omission from a quote. That shows you took something out, or you might have started in the middle of a sentence or a paragraph. And you just want to show the reader that, hey, I've left something out of the quote. And of course, when I go to check it, I'm going to see if you left out anything important. Hopefully, that didn't happen here. The brackets show that the writer added something to the quote or made a change to the quote, maybe to clarify something or to make sure it's grammatically in sync with the rest of the sentence. And there's nothing wrong with that, but you got to show changes to the quote. Otherwise, they should be word for word straight from the source. Again, the three dots, the ellipses show the omission. The brackets show a change to a short quote or a long quote. You can kind of see at the beginning of the essay, there's no quote marks. It's not indented or anything. But she's using this. She found this information from somewhere. So she's done a summary or paraphrase. This might have been a long paragraph. And she's like, I don't need all that. I just need to summarize it, shorten it, condense it in my own words and sentence structure. And that's what a summary is. It's you shorten or condense the material into your own words and sentence structure, but you still have to cite the source there. You can't just use somebody else's information and present it as your own. Jim, and if I go to the works cited page, hopefully that'll make you dizzy when I do that. There's Heath. Uh, that summary came from that source. So she's used somebody else's ideas, but presented it in her own words and sentence structure. But she cited the source. Everything looks good. Don't confuse a summary with a quote. Don't kind of blend the two. Kind of make sure as you're doing it, you've decided which one you're going to be using. You're either going to be quoting directly from the source, or you're going to put it in your own words and sentence structure, but cite the source. The fourth way to use a source is a paraphrase. Basically, summary and paraphrase are formatted exactly the same. There's no quote marks around them. Sometimes you might want to use a signal phrase to kind of let the reader know, hey, I'm about to use some source material. But here's another one. Generally, a paraphrase is where you restate what the original author said without leaving out any of the main points. For example, if you're going to, there's no reason you do this in this class, but if you're going to describe brain surgery, a short quote's not going to be long enough. A long quote might be too technical. A summary, if you're condensing the material in your own words and sentence structure, you might end up leaving a scalpel in someone's brain or something. So you might want to do a paraphrase where you don't leave out any of the major points of the original, but you restate it in your own words and sentence structure. Like for surgery, it might be in doctor speak, and you might want to dummy it down for your English teacher. But when I'm reading the paper, it's kind of more about your intent more than how it's formatted on the page. But again, using this information, got it from somewhere, and she's telling us she's using that source that was written about Nathaniel Hawthorne, not by him, and she's just making sure she's citing where the information she's using came from. And that's exactly what MLA formatting is all about. And she kind of has a little series of probably summaries there. Might be a little paraphrasing. It's hard to tell there. But that's about it. If you kind of have your works cited page ready to go, citing things in the essay gets pretty easy. Here she's actually citing from the short story. You can tell there's no quote marks around Hawthorne or Nathaniel Hawthorne. This is actually her quoting from the story he wrote. Again, if you're using our book, I'd expect a page number there, but she's getting this off the internet, so there's no page number. But really, that's the long and short of MLA formatting. You want to make sure you have that works cited page. You want to make sure you're crediting sources when you use them, and you want to make sure you're using sources fairly. And that's what it's all about. Obviously, there's a little more to some details once we get into it, but we'll be doing the response papers and trying to get ready for the first essay and using MLA formatting in those responses to do that. If you have any questions, be sure and let me know. Again, if you're just almost brand new to MLA formatting or you took Comp 1 20 years ago, you might want to go through that short lecture that's written out on the help page, help resources page. But if you have questions, obviously as we're going, you'll let me know. But we're going to stop it there, and we'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.